Kol Halal, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Racha, Quadash. Let the elders that rule well be counted worthy of double honor, especially they who labor in the word and doctrine. To the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. Researchers change blood type of kidney in transplant breakthrough. University of Cambridge teams work could significantly increase supply of organs for people with rare blood types. Researchers have successfully altered the blood type of 3 donor kidneys in a game-changing discovery that could significantly improve the chances of patients waiting for a transplant finding a match. The development could increase the supply of kidneys available for transplant, particularly within minority ethnic groups. So basically what they're saying is the true nation of Israel, so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, so-called Native Americans, so-called Haitians, and a good chunk of so-called West Indians, as well as Israelite foreigners, those that may look like heathen nations, but have the spirit of an Israelite, their lineage going back to the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, so because who else is going to be under the curses? Who else is going to be labeled a minority ethnic group? The nation of Israel is going to be called bywords. A minority ethnic group being labeled that is a byword. So continuing on from here, who are less likely to find a match, scientists say. All right, it goes into information on blood types. So it says here, University of Cambridge researchers used a normothermic perfusion machine, a device that connects with a human kidney to pass oxygenated blood through the organ to better preserve it for future use, to flush blood infused with an enzyme through the deceased donor's kidney. And then it goes into more information and the process. But we have to focus on the part where it says University of Cambridge researchers used a normothermic perfusion machine. So in other words, they used technology, right? And we know from Apostle Elder Tahar of Great Millstone, he once said, all roads lead to the RFID microchip, which is the mark of the beast, outlined in Revelation chapter 13, verse 16 on down. The charagma, if you would. So we know that if this is public information, what Esau Edom has, Esau Edom being the biblical name of the so-called white man, what technology has trumps this. But you see how they are immediately, even in this article, the nation of Israel is labeled a minority ethnic group. Who are less likely to find a match. Not that Israel should be wrapped up in this anyway, pertaining to Psalm 103 and 3, who healeth all thine diseases, right? But we know that 2/3 of our nation have to be cut off, pertaining to, I know it's 13 and 8. I think it's either Zephaniah or Zechariah. I always get them confused. Zechariah 13 and 8. Oh, yeah, okay, Con. So it's Zechariah 13 and 8. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, 2 parts therein shall be cut off, and what? And die. But the third shall be left therein, the third being the elect. So 66.6% of the nation of Israel is going to be cut off and die. Thus saith the Bible, thus saith the Lord. So jumping back to that article now, we're gonna go to another article which says your next organ could be 3D printed. This was published on August 7th. The other article was published, I believe, today or yesterday. So every 9 minutes, a new person is added to the organ transplant waiting list in the United States, according to the Health Resources and Services Administration. There are over 100,000 people on that list, and the statistics reveal that 17 people waiting for an organ die without getting one every single day. It's obvious that solutions must be developed for those in need of organ transplants, and some scientists are getting closer to creating a workable one using nanotechnology. This method will use 3D printers to create organs out of living tissue that can be transplanted into the patients who need them. And we read in the other article how they labeled the nation of Israel minority ethnic groups, a byword. Known as bioprinting, let me get rid of this bullshit. Known as bioprinting, this technology is getting closer to becoming an actual option for those waiting for an organ transplant. Previously, scientists were unable to create tissue thick enough to be viable for an organ. However, relatively new development at the Wyss Institute at Harvard have led to a bioprinting method capable of creating thicker tissue that contains living human cells. These have been demonstrated to function for 6 weeks at a time, and further development could lead to the world's first long-term functional 3D printed organ. Now, going back to what Apostle Elder Tahar of Great Millstone said, where he said, all roads lead to the RFID microchip, which is the mark of the beast, the charagma pertaining to Revelation 13, verse 16. The ultimate form of a 3D printed organ would be the MOTB. Right? All this stuff, as I've said, is just public information. What's hidden, what Esau Edom, which is the biblical name of the so-called white man, what he has is beyond all this. But still, this information is important because you can see how all roads are leading to the RFID microchip just by navigating through these technology articles, as well as, looking, cross-referencing what's going on in the world with the scriptures. So this goes into how 3D organs are printed and whatnot and what have you, when it potentially might be available. So let's get the scripts. So this is Job chapter 13 verse 4. But ye are forgers of lies. Ye are all physicians of no value. All right, that's talking about Esau Edom, which is the biblical name of the so-called white man. We know from Job 9 and 24, the world is given unto the hands of the wicked. He covereth up the faces of the judges thereof. If not, who is he? Roughly paraphrasing. But we're going to go into the word forgers because iconoclasm is essentially forging. Because you're covering, what they would do is you'd have Israelite monuments and then Esau Edom would come and Esau it up, if you would, you know, doing his bullshit. I mean, one example is Beethoven. Beethoven is or was an Israelite, but through Esau's iconoclasm, if you ask, the average person who, what skin tone, what nationality was Beethoven, they'll say like he was German or whatever the fuck they say. You know what I'm saying? Now that's a carnal. It's a left-hand example. If you ask them what color is, the deliverer, or what color is God, they'll say that he's pink or white, as they would. That's iconoclasm, because if you go into the scriptures, the nation of Israel, we're a nation of color. So we're gonna go and get the word forgers.
Strong's H 2950. Tafal. Tafal.
Tafel, to smear, plaster over, stick, glue. All right, so going back to Job 13:4, but ye are forgers of lies. So they smear lies. That's why they're known as the false accuser, the nation of Israel. I mean, Salakia, slip of the tongue, but not of knowledge. The nation of Esau Edom. The nation of Esau Edom. Goddamn. So here we go. Job 13:4, but ye are forgers of lies. Ye are all physicians of no value. All right, let's get the word physicians.
Strong's H 7495. Rapha. Rapha.
Rapha, to heal, to make healthful, a healer. All right, so they're healers of no value. Jumping back to Job 13:4. So with these 3D printed organs, with these blood transplants, because you know that it's mostly going to be Jake that's wrapped up into that. Because we're the ones suffering from the curses pertaining to Deuteronomy 28:15 on down. And a lot of that is just how, is it's essentially basically diseases, dis-ease of the body, as Apostle Elder Gabar brought out in in multiple of his epistles. So all this stuff, it's all leading to the RFID microchip. The RFID microchip is going to be the most perfected, if you would, 3D organ. And because Jake is already dealing with all these health issues, Esau Edom is literally just going to capitalize on that. But they're going to do little tests like, I wonder what we can get Israel to put in their body. Like, think about it. A 3D... I used to think printers were just for paper. Now it's a 3D printer is for an organ. So you'll be talking to someone and they have a 3D printed lung, a 3D printed toe. I mean, it's so apparent and so obvious that all roads are leading to RFID microchip. Because if you could get someone to put 3D printed organs on themselves, or in themselves, I should say, and on themselves, because skin is an organ, you can get them to take the RFID microchip. That's why it says he causeth all. If you look up, you go into the word causeth, he's basically using his witchcraft, his deception, his technology. All right, so going over to Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 15, this is King Solomon, Malak Shalom, or if you can receive this, Yahweh in one of his carnations. It says here, that which is crooked cannot be made straight. And we know the ultimate crook is Esau Edom. I mean, every time you heard the word crook, it usually was in, older films or older cartoons. There goes the crooks, right? And they'd have the bandana over their eyes and maybe, around their mouth and shit. Esau Edom is the original gangbanger. That wild, wild west shit. He's a beast. It's just like people trying to domesticate a wolf or trying to, like, if you read up, like, people trying to, you know, tame a wild animal, it doesn't work out because it's a beast. That's the same thing with Esau Edom. He can't be made. There's a scripture that says we would have healed Babylon. But Babylon's sins are just, like, you can't even put into in English words how atrocious Babylon's sins are. And we know that America is Babylon. Is modern day Babylon. Continuing on, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. So we're going to get that last portion of Ecclesiastes because it was actually mad interesting. I had to go into the commentaries and just cross-reference it through the Ruach HaKodesh. It was just amazing. So we're going to go to the word wanting. So the thing lacking, defect, deficiency. So jumping back to Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 15, that which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting, so lacking or deficient, cannot be numbered. Because there's always going to be issues as long as you're in this flesh. Something is always going to fail. You could try to cross your T's and dot your I's, but there will always be a time where something just happens. There's always going to be issues. That's why, Malak Yahushai, he said, worry not about the things of tomorrow, because today has sufficient evils thereof. Meaning, today has enough issues in itself. And that lines up with Ecclesiastes 1 and 15, the bottom part, because there's always going to be an issue. You may have money, but then you have a health issue. You may not have a health issue, but you don't have money. You may have a job, but you don't have a car. You may have a car, but you don't have a job. Like there's always something, because we're in the flesh, we're under the curses. And we know that Malak Shalom, King Solomon, he was the wisest man that ever lived. And he was able to he had the resources and the blessing, well, ultimately the blessing of Yahweh B'Shem Yashai, to be able to embark on anything he wanted in the pursuit of wisdom. So when this is written down and says, and that which is deficient, or as it reads, and that which is wanted cannot be numbered, it really does mean that. So jumping back to, the articles, the road is leading to the RFID microchip, the MOTB being mandated. And you could see how the people of the world are getting conditioned to be comfortable around putting technology in their body. It's becoming more mainstream. The same way you might see jewelry on someone. You might be talking to someone and they tell you they have a 3D printed ear, 3D printed eye. The next step is the RFID microchip. So with that, I like to say, Kol Halal, Tihal B'Shem Yashai, B'Ashem Yahushai, Ruach HaKodesh, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel.